Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here at our Max Colonization series, where today we're going to be going to check out the planetoid of Blastora, which sounds like an absolute wonderful time. As a quick recap, it is the home of the Niobium volcano, and that's about it. Very few biomes, and nothing but pain and misery. So first, we're going to have to get over there, then we're going to have to figure out how we're going to support a couple of dupes. I've got some ideas, but first, I've decided to preload our rocket with a bunch of steel and iron ore. Unfortunately, these materials are pretty hot. The steel's coming in at 175 degrees, which is very soon going to make this place pretty uncomfortable. Not a big deal, we have contingencies into place. I wanted to do this though because that way when we get over to the planetoid, I don't have to worry about shipping a bunch of steel over from the rip. I'll already have 20 tons on me. But first we need to make sure that they can actually survive the space flight. So whenever you are bringing some hot rock into the interior of your Spacefarer module, it's always a good idea to provide some cooling. In this case, we're going to provide some cooling in the form of a temperature shift plate, and I'm going to whammo-blam it right there, and that temperature shift plate will interact with the rocket wall. It'll quickly melt into water, which will then cool all that steel down, hopefully sooner rather than later. Well, that didn't take too long. As soon as they even dropped off just a little bit of the ice for the temperature shift plate, it melted. Although it was a very little bit amount of water, so that's not really going to cut it. Apparently, Edenwald is on their way with the ice. It just seems like it's taking them forever. There we go. Uh-oh. Edenwald is starting to heat up. I didn't think it was that hot over there already. Oh, I suppose 80 degrees will do it. That's what we're looking for. This steel is now down to 155 degrees. And the water is going up, but right now it's only at 20 degrees, so it gives us a lot more time. So now all do, put in some more ice, and mop up the rest. Now this is the sort of problem you don't actually have to worry about when you're using the storage tiles, because for whatever reason, the storage tiles don't transfer thermals with the outside, but our storage bins definitely do. This time it is Dave Hammer installing the next ice temperature shift plate. I've even injected the steel and all of its 146 degree glory so that it interact with the water a little bit better. Let's stop mopping that, let that sit there for a little bit. Alternatively, what I should have done was just throw it through our debris chiller. The reason why I didn't is because, well, we've had a bunch of volcanoes recently erupt, so the debris chiller is a little backed up. So while this method is definitely a little bit more rudimentary, it'll work. It will just take a little bit longer. Couple of ice temperature shift plates and a couple of cycles later, and our steel is now down to 54.3 degrees. And you might be wondering, how in the world 800 kilos worth of water is able to cool down 11.6 tons worth of steel, also 18.6 tons of iron ore? And the secret is in the specific heat capacity. Iron ore has a specific heat capacity of 0.449, the steel at 0.490. Whereas the water has a specific heat capacity of 4.179. In other words, it can hold a lot more heat per kilo of material. Now, this is still not a great idea, and there are 100 better ways to do it, but with the options available to me, I figured this would be the quickest, at least until our debris chiller gets cleared out again. I had found a couple of episodes ago that I forgot to share with you that there was a lot of abyssalite stuck in here. And since abyssalite doesn't actually get cooled down, the temperature sensor kept reading it and saying, well, it's still too hot, let's send it back through. Now that I've cleared out that clog though, we've got all the igneous rock that we were backed up on starting to transfer through. The water in here is now up to 44 degrees, the steel is down to 48.9. That's about the best equilibrium I'm going to give the dupes, so it's time to mop all this up and get the show on the road. We once again have Llama and Josh Manchester over in the ESS Explorer, with the remainder of the OA team crew here in the Colonizer. And you might wonder, well, are we going to take all the water bottles out? No, we're going to keep them in the rocket interior, because this will be a nice source of water when we get to the otherwise barren rock of molten lava. So we will set our destinations, summon the crew. There's 1, there's 2, and number 3. What about in the Explorer? We have Llama here. We're waiting on Josh Manchester. There's Josh now. Just to double check the suits. This Atmos suit has a 15% durability. This one has a 1% durability. Well, that's not great. I'm going to put these dupes back in their suits and then uncrew the ship. That way they'll leave, and hopefully this time when they come back, they'll have some better suits on. I don't care about Llama's suit so much, but Josh's needs to be decent. This time Josh's suit was a 50% durability, which is much better. I will take it, and without further ado, it is time to go. Oh, happy days! On our way to the second to last planetoid. Both of the rockets did receive the mission control speed boost, so it looks like it's going to take between 3 and 4 cycles to get to Blastora. The ESS Colonizer has made it to the orbit of Blastora, which means we'll be able to oversee the planetoid for the first time. Looks like we have a little over half a cycle until the Explorer gets there, and that's the rocket with Josh Manchester and Rover. But yes, it's just as bad as I expected. Looks like I'm only going to be able to land here. I could also land here, but that's not going to do anything to help us. And then I'm going to have to start the painful process of getting rid of a bunch of magma. Luckily, the environment is sort of helping me with that. Because magma spawned here, it's actually disappearing into the vacuum of space. So depending on what we see, for instance, I could deconstruct these tiles and then all this magma would disappear into the vacuum of space. We may have some options, otherwise it's going to be a long day. At last, we are in orbit. So step 1 is just the same. We take Rover and we say good luck, buddy. And with Rover's pod coming down, it looks like we're getting a lot more visibility, and oh my dear goodness. I was really hoping to be able to tunnel down through here. This is definitely an unlucky spawn. It's okay. We're going to be fine. In addition to the obsidian being all fragmented, we also have a strip of neutronium covering a majority of the width of the planetoid, which means I have to go around. Unfortunately, Rover can't dig out any obsidian, so Rover was just there to sort of help out with the eyes and ears. I suppose Rover can at least deconstruct their own lander. There's no reason not to send Josh down, although this is definitely a precarious situation. Now, in order to accomplish this, we're going to have to do a couple of things to make sure Josh doesn't suffocate on the cold darkness of this planetoid. Hot darkness, I guess. We have to build the rocket platform, and then we're going to need materials to build the ladder. What we could do, though, is build the rocket platform, land the rocket, and allow the dupes inside the rocket to start building the ladders down as well. Well, I suppose there's no time like the present. Let's get Josh in their 50% Atmo suit. I'll wait until they finish napping, though, even though Llama keeps waking them up. In goes Josh. And just to verify, the suit does have 69 kilos of oxygen in the tank. So we will select Josh into the Trailblazer module and then click deploy. It is a good thing I didn't decide to land here because this would not have been enough height for us to land our rocket. So this truly was our only good spot. I suppose we could have also landed here, but that would have been a little awkward for Josh having to step out into a lake of magma. And you might be wondering why there's no more magma draining from here, and that's because it's reached the length of the magma blade. As you can see, we have 10 tiles here, and then there's 10 tiles here. Doesn't matter how much more pressure you put on this, that's the maximum length that magma will flow out based on its viscosity. And oh boy, I'm sitting here running my mouth, and Josh, stop standing in the lava! Let's deconstruct that. No, Josh, you are not going to be digging that out from there. You're going to go down here first. Nope. Like I said, Josh, there you go again. Stop standing in the lava. I don't understand. Why do they instantly go to the lava? Let's put the rocket platform in. This looks nice. And then Rover can start building some ladders. And without further ado, we can land the colonizer. Yeah, Josh apparently has found out a new medical secret about the benefits of standing in molten hot lava. And our away team is together again. Just to make sure no accidents happen, I always go to select crew and ensure that Josh has been reassigned. It also means I can send Llama home. And yes, I do put them inside their suit for the long voyage home. That way I don't have to worry about it when they get back to the planetoid. I think the first step is going to be clearing out our space for where all of our equipment is going to go. So I'm going to start by digging out all this, and it's going to be a pretty slow process. Only Josh has the digging skill to be able to dig out obsidian. I'm also going to try mopping this as the magma falls. Yep, can we stop thumbs upping and start mopping, please? Yeah. Josh is going to have to take a break from that because they are getting a little too toasty, which means I already have to start this painstaking process. Now, I do not think that this pitcher pump is going to last very long, but it should last long enough for what our purposes are going to be with it. And that will be to just move the magma over right here, and that way it disappears into the vacuum of space. Now, eventually, we'll have some nice ceramic pitcher pumps, but for the time being, that's not available. Hold on, we still have work down here to do. We're going to select magma and enable auto bottle. And as the magma comes out of the bottle, since there is no background on this tile, it just disappears. In fact, while the dupes are busy doing that, I'm also going to build a little structure over here. This would be not a bad spot to at the minimum get more obsidian. Not to mention we have other dupes in there that are not doing anything. They have to participate in the mission as well. I think this is about a good enough spot to start. Josh is not feeling the greatest because of all that magma, so we're going to let them heal up for a little bit before I have them continue. But the key is we can actually use this little area as a cave, and it'll give us some protection from the sun and from the radiation. In fact, I can go down a little bit further, can't I? Let's do something like this. What's going to be even more painful is the fact that, yes, I can put buildings down in here, for instance, our exosuit forge, but eventually they'll need to be cooled. Well, I can't just lay water down because the obsidian is 1600 degrees. So this might be a case of us consistently deconstructing the equipment and rebuilding it once it starts to overheat. Remember, we don't have to worry about it transferring with the obsidian below it because it is in a vacuum, and so there's no environment to transfer those thermals. I can also put in the targeting beacon, and that way we can ship over some of that juicy ceramic. I should have brought some of it with me as well. No big deal though. The launcher will be able to send things off pretty quickly. We're going to select our new destination to Blastora. Looks like it'll be 100 rad volts per launch. We actually already have an Atmos suit to repair, so it's a good thing that we did get this set up. Before I forget, I am going to disable auto repair on all of this, and when it overheats, it overheats. We'll just deconstruct it and then build another one. I'm also putting a storage bin in, selecting obsidian. In fact, I will put it as sweep only, and that way I can gather all the goodies from up here, and that way as we carve out this floor, it just doesn't drop into magma to where it's no longer reachable. All of our interplanetary payloads are on their way, and it looks like we'll get that ceramic in about a half a cycle. Not that it's going to make too big of a difference, but the ceramic will be a better insulator, and so it'll last a little bit longer sitting inside the magma. We will put in the payload opener, once again making it out of steel. Throw in a conveyor chute. I guess that can be iron. And some rails also made out of iron ore. And as we dug out the cave, we have found our first point of interest down here. This is our destination. None of it's really good news, considering how long and painful this is going to be. And all the times I've landed on this planetoid, this might be the worst spawn I've seen. Sometimes there's enough obsidian to where you can dig your way down through here. Our first payloads are landing. All we have to do is hook the power up to the payload opener. Our jumbo battery is at about 62 degrees. Exosuit Forge is doing well. And since we made them out of steel, they don't overheat till 275, so it's not too big of a deal. It's just going to be a little bit more micromanagement from me. Josh, you really need to heal a little bit quicker. I could put in a triage cot now just in case, but I don't think we'll need one once I get this all set up and going. Not to mention Josh has other problems going on too. The radiation pain and the major radiation sickness has already started to kick in. Additionally, they're also sunburnt. That I may be able to help. We're almost done digging out the last of this, which was not too big of a deal. Once I remove this, I can put a bigger roof on this whole affair, and then we can start the business at hand. No, Rover! No! Rover! Why wouldn't you jump up to the next ladder? Oh, buddy. Going to deconstruct. Why would you deconstruct? Oh, you're going to deconstruct a building. Well, we will be able to get to you. Eventually. It's going to be a little while. I'm so sorry, Rover. At least it doesn't look like you're in too much pain. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen to a dupe. Our colonizing mission has now become a rescue mission. I feel like I've seen that movie before. Step one in this whole affair is to level this area here, which it still does have a little bit of magma, but I will micro this very carefully to make sure that Josh doesn't end up standing in any of the magma. It looks like it is too much magma anyways to mop, and since they're this far away, our next step is Josh vomiting everywhere. Suppose I can also start putting in that ceiling. I'm being careful to make sure that the targeting beacon still stays open. No, let's not stand in that too far. Josh, you're not doing that job. Somebody else can. Kiku and Noosh have no damage. Nope, Josh, sorry. I know you liked the lava bath before, but we're not doing that again. And now that our little ramp down to the magma lake is finished, we can start the painful process of putting in a bunch of pitcher pumps. I think the first one has to be right about here. Hopefully that draws enough in. Next one there, and then we'll say the next one's here. And this is now my life. I will keep moving pitcher pumps. To be able to grab the magma, we have a couple of bottle emptiers here set on auto bottle, and the dupes will just go back and forth, grabbing one bottle after another. But this is all we're gonna do until they get every last bit of magma out of this entire lake down to this obsidian floor. All the meanwhile, I will continue to move the pitcher pumps down further and further until we can finally get to this point here. Well, we'll make sure we stop and throw Rover a ladder, but I feel like by then, Rover's battery isn't going to be active anymore. I'm also going to make sure I keep extending this obsidian roof over, and that way Josh can stop vomiting everywhere. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was. I wanted to highlight an example of showing you some things you can do with the pitcher pump to make sure that they last as long as possible, especially when dealing with very hot liquids like magma. You'll notice that this pitcher pump is made out of ceramic. So is this one, yet this one is overheating. It's because the little pipe down here below the pitcher pump doesn't actually conduct thermals. And so while yes, ceramic is a much better insulator than say something like obsidian, if I can keep magma away from the top part of the pitcher pump, we should be okay for a lot longer. I'm going to try to accelerate this process just a smidge by adding another couple of bottle emptiers. And as we get more and more room, I'll have more space to put the bottle emptiers. Because remember, they're only moving 200 kilos at a time. And a standard tile of magma is holding over 1,800. We've made some progress. We've gotten rid of about 3 tiles of a magma blade. I'm gonna put this on supersonic and walk away for a little while. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Well, as long as Josh will stop vomiting everywhere. You might see some buildings melted in the background. And I promise you it was nothing I did this time. It's the drywall inside the point of interest. It looks like we're gonna have some more problems. Somehow something is leaked over here. Normally these point of interest are sort of protected. In this case, there's already sour gas sitting in this building, and almost 1 kilo of it. So it is transferring all those thermals and providing an environment that the magma is then once again transferring its thermals into. So things like granite drywall that have a melting temp of 668 don't last very long. I am not looking forward to finding out what the issue is down there, but we're gonna have to drain this and then vent it for a while because the dupes can't stand in 1200 degrees sour gas. That's not going to work out well. We're starting to get our first overheat here in the exosuit forge, so I'm going to deconstruct it, and then we'll rebuild it. And now we're back down to 45 beautiful degrees. I just need to make sure that I repair the atmosuits. Apparently, earlier in the episode, I accidentally made new atmosuits instead of repairing the old ones. Well, back to the magma pumping. The dupes have started to build a wall over here, and since Rover doesn't have anything better to do, Rover can help out as well. Now what this wall is going to be is sort of the floodgate. That way I don't have to pump out all of this magma. It's still a gargantuan task, but much better. In fact, Rover, you can build ladders. Why don't you go and see what's up over here? Oh no. There's now 3 kilos worth of sour gas. Of course there is. Of course there is. I wanted to give you another example about these pitcher pumps and how iffy they can get. There was a small little island sitting up here that had a little bit of magma on it. Well, when we dug it out, that magma fell down, obviously passing through the pitcher pump, but even that was enough to cause it to overheat. Please stop wasting our ceramic on that. You're doing great, Rover. And then I'll have Rover come all the way down here and maybe build a ladder there, and then pretend to build a ladder there just so that rover will continue to climb up and over through here to see if I can get some more vision on what's happening. Oh, look, there's some of that sweet, sweet niobium. No doubt we are going to get our grubby hands on it. Not anytime soon, mind you, but eventually. And it looks like this is where our niobium volcano is. Oh, good job, rover. My only guess is that there was a little bit of oil or plastic sitting in this POI. And since this was not insulated, it quickly heated up and then melted. Bad things happened. No, rover, I don't actually need you to build a ladder there. I just wanted to get some more visibility. And oh my goodness, that is the absolute bottom of the planetoid. We already have 100% visibility. I was hoping for at least a little bit more room. One of the benefits of having this sweet pitcher pump bridge is that we're going to be able to put down some more bottle emptiers over here. Not that I think it's going to help us go too much faster, but the more bottle emptiers means the more time that the duplicants will spend staying outside the rocket, which seems to be our biggest holdup, because after the bottle emptiers are full, they don't think there's anything left to do, so they go back inside the rocket. I didn't even realize that I could have had rover with all the debris down here start to build their own ladders and rescue themselves. Now granted, this rover is officially in shutdown mode, so as long as I do not turn off the game, rover can keep working. And the great thing about rover is they won't stop filling up bottles of magma. And now we have 8 bottle emptiers. Of course, it'd probably be good if I provided a roof for them as well. And we've actually finished 1 pitcher pump's worth of magma, which means it's time to move this fella down. And since we're moving 1 down, we might as well move all of them down. And so the adventure continues. Another few cycles and more magma has been drained. You can't stop the inevitability of progress. I had to do some block pushing, but things are picking up here. Now this area is going to be a little bit more cumbersome. I think I'm going to have to remove this obsidian here. And that is just 750 grams. So the pitcher pump doesn't even see that. That's good there. Yeah, this is going to be really awkward because, yeah, these 2 pitcher pumps will be able to see everything, but it's only going to remove this blade here. Then I'm going to have to remove this obsidian so that we can start to get down through here. And then, of course, there's situations like this where I'm going to have to remove these ladders just to put a pitcher pump, just to get that one little bit of magma that is too big to mop. And we're starting around the corner. So very exciting. Somebody please send help. I'm going to try something that could end up saving us quite a bit of time. Whether or not it works, it's anybody's guess, but the first thing I have to do is make sure the dupes can't get over here. So I'm just going to say no dupes are allowed through. And then my boy Rover, I've got a job for you. I'm going to start to try to build shafts through here. Now granted, this particular shaft is not going to be great because I still need to siphon all the magma out of it. But I can sort of just lock some of the magma behind a wall. Unfortunately, Josh, I am going to need to allow you to come through and dig out these 4 tiles. More on that here in a little bit. So we will allow Josh to come through. The faster you finish, the faster you can leave your lava lake. And then I take away Josh's permissions. And now I can have Rover build this ladder, and that way we can keep moving this pitcher pump down through here. Now, as much as I would like to just put a ceiling on this whole thing, sort of something like that Rover could build, it would end up causing a problem with us trying to pump it out. What I can do is possibly build something up from here, making sure that Rover can reach all those places. Yeah, it's not too bad, right? At this point, you might be wondering, Echo, why are you even trying to get down here? Why not just build a nice little space base? Well, chances are we might build a space base, but as a reminder, at the very beginning of this series, I said that we would try to tame at least 1 volcano of every type. And to be quite honest, you can't just come to this planetoid and not tame the niobium volcano. But then again, we could also sort of build this area out. The abyssalite won't transfer thermals. And if we can get rid of this sour gas, put down some insulation, we could turn it into a home. It might be a fixer-upper, but we could make it work, maybe. With all that construction done, and me confident that the dupes aren't going to run down there and try to build some tiles, I can remove our door system. And then once again, I'll just keep lowering the pitcher pump all the way down till it gets to this point. We'll dig this area out. By then, there should be some area here to where we can put another pitcher pump. It's slow and steady. But I think that's going to do it for today's episode. I hope this particular brand of chaos was right up your alley. And I'm looking forward to hearing all your suggestions down in the comments below about what we should do with this planetoid. Because oh boy. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.